This is Mr. Gilliam, and today we're going to talk about bar graphs and line graphs, but especially today we're going to talk about line graphs. And what a line graph is it's a bunch of points that are presented on data and are plotted, and all the points that you plot are connected by lines. Okay, so here's an example of a line graph. And this line graph just happens to represent the scores on 12 successive math SATs through test number 1 through test number 12. And as you can see, all the coordinates are plotted and they're all connected by lines, and that's what makes it a line graph. Okay, each point is connected by a straight line, no curves, just straight lines. So let's take a look at what a line graph. Okay, scores on 12 successive math tests. This line graph that we were just looking at, okay, if I want to know what is the score on the math SAT on test number 9, then I'm going to look at test number 9. Here's the test numbers. This is my key. I'm going to look at test number 9, and I'm going to go straight up to test number 9, and I notice there's a point right above it. If I follow this point all the way back to 600, I notice that the test score of test number 9 must be 600. And to find the lowest scoring test, I have to see first of all how my graph is set up. These are my scores from least to greatest. If I want to know which test is the lowest scoring, I find the point on the graph that is the lowest. In this case, I'm going to say the first point is the lowest. So I'm going to say test number 1 is the lowest scoring. And then ask which test is the highest scoring. And that would be test number 12 because it's the highest point. Test number 12. But it might even ask me which years or which test numbers did it decrease in between. As you can see, from 1 to 2 there's an increase, and 2 to 3 there's an increase, 3 to 4 increase, increase, increase. However, between test number 6 and number 7 there was a decrease. So if it asked me which test scores did the SAT scores decrease on, I could say between number 6 and number 7. And now let's make our own line graph. Okay, we have the months, January, February, all the way through December, and how much rainfall each month had. So here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to draw a little plot here. Okay, make it as straight as I can. And I'm going to say, okay, I noticed that I have from probably about 50 to the biggest looks like 216. So I better go up by about 25s here if I'm going to do it right. So I'm going to say 25, 50, 75, 100, 125, 150, 175, 200, 225. I kind of ran into my words there, but that's okay. And sideways, I'm just going to say this is Jan, Feb, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, and finally, a little farther, December. And I'm just going to abbreviate January, February, March, April, May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December. So my months are on the bottom. I really need to label my axes. The bottom is going to be my months. I'm running out of room here. And the side axis is going to be my rainfall. So I'm going to label that rainfall. And we said this is 50. Every other one goes up by 50, 100, 150, 200. So each line represents 25. So in January, J, I had 50 rainfall. I'm going to put a little point right there. And in February, I had 71.5, so a little below the third line up. And then in March, I had 106, so a little more than the 100 line. And April, 129, all the way up to a little more over that guy right there. And then May was 144, got even higher. And then June, 176, way up here. Okay, July, 135, it went down again. And August is almost 150, so I'm going to put it real close to 150. And then September 216, I'm going to find 216 on here. It's way up here, right in the middle of the P there. October is 194. Pretty high up there too. November 96.5. We're going to go right about that guy. And then December 54.4. I'm looking at 50 and I'm going a little higher than the 50. Okay, and right now I just have a scatter plot, but what I want is a line graph. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start by connecting my points with straight lines. Because that's what makes a line graph. And as you can see, towards the middle of the months, it gets the most rainfall. And then it drops off a little bit, then it goes up, and then again it decreases. So as the graph gets higher, we can call it an increase. And when it gets lower, we could call it a decrease. Okay, and now we have our line graph.